Morning, everybody. Thank you very much for joining us on this webinar today. So we're going to go through some terminology. So the what that we're going to talk about. I'm going to talk a little bit about why I think that you should consider some change, and then Sharon is going to move on to do the how. So we will cover that off, and we're expecting this to be about half an hour, I would think, something like that, maybe a little longer depending on questions. So let's make a start. So the three people that you've got talking to you today, Neil Thorne, so I've met several of you I can see on the call, and I still am responsible for some of the accounts. Andy Patrick is our managing director, and Andy also has responsibility still for account management of some key customers. And then the majority of you will deal on a day-to-day basis with my colleague Sharon Atty, who's our relationship manager. And you'll hear from all three of us at different times today. So I'm going to start off initially by handing over to Andy, who's going to run through the scene setting and the what, the terminology that we need you to understand as part of this presentation. Andy.
Yeah, thanks for that. Thanks for that, Neil. Appreciate it. Some of this is going to be really quite basic, so we'll fly through some of it, but I think it's an important thing to do is to set the scene, because we'll talk about different things through the presentation today, and we just want to make sure that everybody is aware of what we're talking about. So there's three main sections, and it's products that we sell and the products that you have. It's the infrastructure that's in place to support those products, but also there's the licensing model as well that you're on. So I'm going to take you through products and infrastructure. The vast majority of people on the call will know of Qlik Sense. It is the latest release from Qlik on the visualization product, the analytics and reporting solution that they sell through vendors like ourselves. But there's also QlikView. Some of you will be aware of this. It was the precursor to Qlik Sense. So still a business intelligence product, part of the Qlik platform, people still using it today, but we do see it slowly getting replaced by more and more use of Qlik Sense. A while back, Qlik did an acquisition of a company called Vezubi, and as part of that acquisition, they got a product called Imprinting, and they kept the name and it became Qlik Imprinting. It is essentially a product that can connect to Qlik Sense and QlikView and enable you to create static reports and automate the distribution of those reports. So you use things like Excel, Word, PowerPoint in order to be able to connect to the dashboards in QlikView and Qlik Sense and send monthly packs and weekly reports out to people. Some of our customers even send things like remittance advice and invoices out, and even some kind of alert so it can check the data that sits within those applications. We're also going to be talking about SaaS, which I'll come on to in a bit. We won't jump ahead of ourselves. And as part of SaaS, you get different elements, different granularity or functionality that sits within the SaaS offering. And one of those is Qlik Data Alerts. So I wanted to mention it now because we'll be coming on to what you get when you go forward in your journey later on. This is essentially what it says. You know, it is an alerting product where it will look at the data that's going through Qlik, and it will send email and Slack alerts out to people, and eventually team alerts and things like that. So it's the starting of being able to do more in self-service, where you can say when this order reaches, or when an order goes through and the data is reloaded and it is over a particular margin, or it is under a particular margin, or any field, any dimension, then you can set alerts to go to yourself and other individuals in the organization. Another bit of granularity is Insight Advisor Chat. So this is the use of natural language, you asking questions directly of your Qlik dashboards. So rather than drilling down and delving in and going in deep, this might be good for a management level where they just want to say, what is my margin percentage today? What are my number of failures today? It's all going to be based around obviously the data that you've got in your Qlik Sense applications, but you could type that in, or you could even just talk into a microphone and ask a specific question of the data. That can be switched on by the touch of a button, and 80% of the functionality is there waiting for you. There is also the ability to refine that by putting different vocabulary in place. So I've used this analogy recently, but certain people refer to turnover as turnover. Some people will call it sales, some people will call it revenue. So it's those types of things that you can bring together, the different synonyms, to make sure that people are getting the most out of the data that sits within their Qlik applications. Last one on there on the products is something called Qlik Data Transfer. So again, we debated the order in how we talk to you about certain things, because I'm referring to SaaS and we haven't given you a breakdown of what SaaS means yet, but we're trying to keep this open and transparent, as Neil has said. So if you do have any questions as we go through, put them on the chat and we will answer them straight away for you. But Qlik Data Transfer is a service or a utility. It's meant to be lightweight, but it's actually quite a big install. It will sit on your infrastructure. So if you're using your own tin in the corner of the room, we can install it there. If you're using AWS Azure, it gets installed next to your Qlik setup. And it's there to enable the movement of data from on-premise up to the cloud. We'll go into more detail about that, but I just wanted to set out, if we talk about Qlik Data Transfer, you've got an idea of what we mean. And then the infrastructure. So it's these products, and the first three are chargeable products. You can, buy them or get them on subscription. The other three are included within elements of it, or they are free of charge in order to be able to help you get that, best value out of your Qlik investment. With infrastructure, you've got different deployment options. So I've talked about SaaS. That is Qlik's own infrastructure. They are making a move towards SaaS. They're on a journey where more and more of what they sell, they want to be in their cloud. They happen to use AWS, but what this means for you really is that it is Qlik, and it's Qlik Sense, and that is maintained by Qlik. So you don't have to do the upgrades. You don't have to maintain that. You haven't got to move from November 2020 to February 2021. That will be done automatically for you. And that push towards the cloud, that push towards SaaS for Qlik, we can see a lot of the R&D going into those products. We can see the fact that they've moved from 5 releases of Qlik Sense per year to 4 releases of Qlik Sense per year on the client managed, which I'll come to on in a second. We can see that they are making that push towards cloud. So of course, the next point there is about your client managed install. The vast majority of people that we have worked with in the past have had client managed. So this is QlikView or Qlik Sense being installed on your infrastructure. And as I've said, that could be your version of Azure, your version of Rackspace, your version of AWS, or your servers that sit in your offices or wherever. And then of course, you've got the hybrid approach. So we'll be talking about hybrid, and we'll be talking about a SaaS add-on. So you can have a instance where you've got, I'm going to use Qlik Sense installed on your local servers, but you also want to benefit from some of the functionality that only comes with SaaS. We would recommend, and we would be talking to you about a hybrid approach. So when we use the term hybrid later on, you'll know it's the combination of both client managed and the SaaS tenant, and you do that by buying a SaaS add-on. We'll come on to all the different licensing terminology in a second, but just wanted to give you a breakdown of what we'll be talking about. And then we've got a schematic that kind of shows the different deployment options. So a few things just to sort of mention here. When we talk about client managed, it is QlikView or Qlik Sense on Windows environment. It's as simple as that. And when we talk about SaaS, it is Qlik Sense really. You can host some of your QlikView applications up in the cloud. So there are some great benefits in being able to move to SaaS if you want a unified experience for your end users. Some of the considerations there are the unified licensing. So if when we go through all of the different permutations through this webinar, you think that SaaS is something that you want to explore, then I would suggest speaking to your partners, and if we are not your partners, go and speak to the people that deal with your Qlik installation, or ask us questions. We're more than happy to answer them. But you've got to consider the licensing permutations around this. You don't have to buy a new license to use SaaS, but you do have to use the same identity provider to make sure that you're not consuming double the amount of licenses. So if Fred logs on onto Client-managed and logs on to SaaS, you want to make sure that they're only using one license rather than two, and you can do that through the unified licensing that Qlik has in place, as long as you've got the right technical elements. So
That's
yeah,
using the hybrid model. Yeah.
yeah, absolutely, Neil, you're right. That is using the hybrid model that we'll talk about as we go through. So I'm going to pass back over to Neil now, who's going to take you through some of the terminology around the licensing options.
Thanks, Andy. Yeah, so I say the traditional way that you bought Qlik was through a perpetual license, so which is where you purchase the licenses up front, and then there is an annual maintenance fee covering the new releases in the software. And the different types of licenses that you had within that, Andy talked about QlikView as being the precursor to Qlik Sense. Well, QlikView used to have, well, still does, a named user CAL, and it has a document CAL. So you may hear us talking about those later. Qlik Sense was originally sold on a token basis. And the vast majority of our customers, I think there's one or two still on that basis, but the vast majority have now moved over to professional and analyzer licensing, where a professional is somebody who can connect to the data sources, build the data models, and build and edit applications. So they tend to build those applications that are then consumed by analyzers, which are ostensibly view only. They can do some tweaks if the professional allows it in the dashboard. And then in more recent years, we've, as Andy's just explained, Qlik are moving over to subscription licensing, and you can only now buy it as a new business on subscription. And a subscription is an annual fee per user, and there are multi-year contracts available for that. We're going to talk a little bit later on about the different types of license, but going with subscription does actually open up another type of license which isn't available on Perpetual, and that's called an analyzer capacity pack, where you buy a block of minutes that can be shared amongst many users. So it's ideal if you've got people who are just going to be, occasional users of the software. If they're going to be in and out of it every day, then they should have a full analyzer user. But if they're only going to be in, once or twice a month, then buy an analyzer capacity pack, assign them to that so that they make use of those minutes, and they're not taking up a more expensive analyzer license. Right. So why do we think you should consider a change? This is the main crux of today's webinar, really. So, why move to Qlik Sense if you are an existing QlikView user? Well, we're not going to be doing demos to you today, but I would recommend that you attend some of the future webinars that we've got coming up. This is the first of a series of them, where we'll talk about Qlik Sense and how it is the modern self-service interface from Qlik. QlikView is an excellent product, but I think few people would agree that it is an end user tool, whereas Qlik Sense is made for that with a drag and drop capability. Why move to subscription? So there's a number of reasons I would recommend for this. Like I said on the last slide, there are some new licensing types available that offer more flexibility, the Analyzer Capacity Pack being the main one there. And with a subscription, you can flex your licenses as well at the end of the subscription term. So with a perpetual license, you'll know that Qlik will very kindly allow you to add users, but they won't allow you to remove them. Whereas with a subscription, that now provides that facility. So if you're on a 3-year term, and at the end of that 3-year term, you decide that, we want more professional users now as our analyzers have got more proficient at the system, then they can you can remix. So you could say, I want fewer analyzers and more professional, or vice versa. Also, one of the big advantages of that longer term subscription contract is the ability to lock in your pricing for an extended term. So any of you that are still on a perpetual license, you'll know that the annual maintenance has increased each of the last 3 years. There was a 4%, 5%, and another 5% this time. And people are wanting to avoid that price increase if they can, and this is a way of doing it. You lock yourself in to a 3-year subscription, and there will be no price increase in that time unless you buy more users, of course. And then lastly, I just want to talk about why we think you should move to SaaS. There are several reasons on that. I've listed some of them here, some of the main ones. Predominantly, you get a lot of new functionality included on the SaaS platform that is not yet available on a general client-managed one, and I do wonder whether some of it will be at all, which is why the hybrid model is something that Andy agreed we should you should at least consider. So Qlik Data Alerts, Andy touched on. He also touched on the Insight Advisor chat, but there is data cataloging facility coming along within Qlik SaaS. Andy, do you want to just talk through that a little bit about what that is?
Yeah, sure, no problem. So as part of the SaaS offering, we see Qlik putting more and more functionality in there to make it the offering that, the go-to offering for new customers. Certainly people that have already got Qlik Sense, there's more of a step to make. But if any of you guys have worked with Qlik in the past and you've used QVDs, you will have done it in a way where hopefully it becomes a data layer for you. So you get in information out of source systems and you're trying to get it business ready into a whole set of QVDs. You might then take those QVDs and load them into Qlik applications, QlikView or Qlik Sense, to make that process easier. There's really good reasons to do that. I won't go through all the details now, but you'll be using that QVD in multiple applications from a consumer perspective, for instance. What data catalog will do for you is put an Amazon-like shop front to that data. So you can go into your Qlik Sense hub on Qlik's infrastructure on SaaS, and you can go to an area that says, I want to start my self-service journey off a little bit earlier. And you'll be able to search through all of the data, excuse me, all of the data that has been made available for you, and it will give you some metrics around that data as well. So it'll tell you, the quality of that data. It will show you how often that data is being used by other people in other applications. So you get a bit of an understanding as to, the governance and the validity of that data. But essentially, you can add data to your cart, to your basket, if you like, and say, or search for it. I want to look for sales data, and you might have, and it's not just QVDs, this could be source system data as well, but I'm using QVD as an analogy because we've got lots of people from Qlik on the call, but they are trying to open up to make sure that, some of the platform that Qlik deliver is now becoming agnostic to the business intelligence tool that's being used. Not our focus for today, and we'll do separate webinars around the data integration piece that Qlik are bringing, but data catalog enables you to go in, search for the data that you want, bring it all together, and start your self-service journey on building a visualization a little bit earlier on with all those quality measures. Hopefully that makes sense.
Thanks, Andy. Cheers. Also, a little later this year, there's going to be a printing element within the SaaS environment, so that Well, we're still waiting to have the exact details of what will be in that, but we are expecting it to be an interface with sort of Microsoft Office products. So being able to put things into a Word document or an Excel spreadsheet. We will confirm that as soon as we're here. Sorry, Andy.
And I think, Neil, you're right in what you're saying there. We want to. This session is all about giving you the information. We're going to put a positive spin on it. We sell Qlik, and we work with people that use Qlik, but we've got to point out some of the gotchas and what you miss out on there. So printing, certainly, we've talked about M printing before. There's no plans from Qlik to bring the end printing functionality in its entirety through to their SaaS offering. So therefore, this printing offering that is coming in the first half of the year on the SaaS product, on the SaaS infrastructure from Qlik, will be different to what people are used to in M printing. There will be some equivalency. So the combination of using data alerts and the printing capability within SaaS will hopefully go a long way to doing what M printing did, but it will be a completely different interface. You're not going to be able to migrate your M printing reports over onto the printing capability on SaaS. So I just wanted to point that out as we go through this as to why consider a change. Some great benefits in doing that, by modernizing the alerting and printing capabilities that you have, but it won't be a perfect like-for-like replacement.
Yep, thank you. And then another key element of moving to SaaS, of course, is the reduction on the infrastructure burden, and that can be, cost of servers and Windows licenses and whatever, as well as the actual physical time that your colleagues are spending maintaining that hardware, backups and everything else. So that's another important element of it, that you no longer have to worry about any of that side of it. So a big plus when moving to SaaS. And so with that, I'm going to hand over to Charan, who's going to talk you through the how you make some of these changes. So, Charan.
Thanks, Neil. Yes, so thank you very much for joining today. I, like Neil said, will be taking you through some of the different incentives that are possible right now with Qlik in terms of how you can, move along your Qlik journey with the current licenses that you have in place. There are 3 or 4 different options available to you, which I will discuss in more detail in the next few slides. But for now, this slide will just explain at a very high level what is available, and some of them might not be available to you or might not work for you, but as you'll follow through the next couple of slides, I will just take you through all the different options as to whether you are a QlikView user or a Qlik Sense user, and what is actually possible for you. So the remix option that is available to QlikView license customers who would like to actually swap and exchange some of their QlikView licenses that they may not be using for Qlik Sense licenses. This is still going to be remaining on the Perpetual model, but as you see, as I explain a few more of the options, there are subscription models available for QlikView users as well, such as the Analytics Modernisation Program. It is a bit of a mouthful, so from now on I'll just be referring to it as AMP, and what this allows QlikView customers to do is actually benefit by having the equivalent Qlik Sense licenses on their estate as well for no extra money either. So a lot of the discussions that I will be talking to you about today will be kind of how you will be leveraging your existing investment, but there are a couple of different options that you may wish to take that might be a little bit more chargeable as well, which we'll talk you through, because it's more about educating you in terms of the options that are available. As a customer on the current Perpetual licenses, which my colleagues Andy and Neil have spoken to you about already, you may wish to just move over to the subscription model, so just converting your Perpetual licenses into the subscription model licensing version as well, and I'll take you through what options you have available. And they've also touched on the SaaS element of the subscription side of things as well, which Qlik is very much encouraging. And as Qlik advocates at Ometis, we very much like to encourage customers to at least think about what they could do as well. So there are a couple of different options with the SaaS model on subscription. It may already be included in your current subscription if you are already a subscription customer. You do have the option to purchase the add-on as well to benefit from the SaaS functionality, or you may just wish to convert over to the SaaS subscription model when you are converting your perpetual licenses, as I mentioned quite briefly above as well. Or again, if you are a subscription customer already, you do have the option to purchase SaaS subscription when you are due for a renewal as well. So what I'll be doing over the next couple of slides is just going into a little bit more detail as to how you can actually benefit from the licensing models and incentives that I've just discussed as well. So the licensing remix model is quite useful for customers who are QlikView users and have a spare number of licenses within their estate already. As mentioned, it is a free of charge incentive available for customers, and it allows you to swap out certain licenses that you don't really use to effectively try and test Qlik Sense before you want to fully commit to it, just to see how Qlik Sense could work for you. So to give you a little bit more context, a customer of ours had spare capacity in their QlikView licenses and decided to remix some of them into Qlik Sense licenses. They opted to remix their named user CAL licenses for professional licenses. And at that point, we help them develop reporting capabilities that they do have into Qlik Sense as well. So they were able to use both Qlik Sense and QlikView. And eventually the roadmap for them is to move all of their licenses into QlikView, into Qlik Sense, sorry. For them to use. The matrix below will just explain what is available when you do, wish to do the remix. For every named user CAL, you will get one Qlik Sense professional user, so you just swap it out. For the document CALs, there is again a one-to-one swap if you would like that. However, if you wanted to exchange them for professional users, you will have to give 4 document CALs for one professional user. I won't bore you and go through every single option that we have. Sorry, and Neil won't either because he'll just
be
move
quick
it
on the
straight
button there. I beg your pardon.
But again, we will have these slides to circulate to all the attendees so you can have a look at what options you have. And we do encourage you to have a chat with any one of your account managers here at Ometis if we work with you to take you through what options are available to move you on to subscription to Qlik Sense. The next option we do have is the Analytics Modernisation Program, so AMP again. This is for QlikView customers who are potentially considering the move to subscription. With everything that we've already discussed, Qlik's roadmap now is to encourage their customers to adopt the subscription model. This is quite a handy and in my opinion kind of a no-brainer option for QlikView customers, where for the same QlikView licenses that you do have on a one-to-one basis, you do also get the Qlik Sense licenses to use as well. We do need to be mindful here that Qlik are looking to retire their perpetual licensing model this year. We are still waiting for some more information on that, and as soon as we do have that, we will give it to you and make sure that you're fully aware of your options from that point. But
yeah,
right now,
what jump in there, Sharon, if that's okay, because it's a big thing, isn't it? We only found out, maybe a week ago ourselves. So realised that some people on the call might be on a perpetual license model, and that's a bit of a bombshell, we thought, when we heard the information. So just to elaborate on what Sharon has said there, because I think it's one of the important points here. It shows Qlik's push to go to subscription, push to go to SaaS, but they'd already stopped new customers being able to buy Qlik. You had to subscribe to Qlik. What their suggestion is that existing customers on a perpetual license will be able to stay on that perpetual license and pay maintenance. They're not saying they're going to take that away, but they are suggesting that if you want to grow your Qlik estate, if you want to buy more users or buy more functionality, it's at that point in time that they are going to strongly encourage, if not force, you to move to subscription. So I think it's fair enough for us to talk about on this open session, but it came as a wee bit of a shock to us. So I just wanted to sort of, it's a nonchalant comment in a way, and I just wanted to make sure that you know that we are taking this seriously, and that's why we're doing these webinars, to let you know what's going on with Qlik as soon as we hear it. So sorry to butt in there, Sharon, but I think that was one of the more shocking bits of news that we heard on the Qlik Partner Enablement sessions earlier in January. I'll let you carry on.
No, that's fine, not a problem. It's important to actually emphasize what Qlik are doing and making sure our customers and everybody that's attending this webinar are aware of what's going on. So thanks for explaining that. In this slide itself, what I do want to talk about are the different elements of how QlikView customers can actually move to subscription. So previously we talked about the remix model, which you can stay on the perpetual model, but the AMP program here talks to you about how you can leverage your investment right now into subscription, but also modernizing it at the same time by using Qlik Sense too. There are a couple of different options on the subscription model, as we have already explained, in terms of hosting the AMP versions of Qlik Sense and View on your own servers on premise as a client managed customer, or on the SaaS side of things as well. But the initiative that Qlik have right now is for your current maintenance on your licenses, your QlikView licenses, to actually give you both QlikView and Qlik Sense at the same time. The conversion is free of charge, so there's no monetary uplift for you to do that, but it does move you onto the client managed model. So if you're already hosting everything on your own servers, then it will remain the same in terms of deployment. It does actually give you the option to adopt a hybrid model, which we will just talk about in more detail a little bit later, but it does, as standard, move your perpetual licenses over into a 3-year subscription. So again, benefiting from that price lock-in that you do have when you commit to a 3-year term. You can also have a 1-year term available to you as well, but again, that is at a premium, so it's something that you do need to consider when when wanting to talk to your account manager about how to use AMP to your advantage. You do also have the option to actually use some of the SaaS functionality as well, but on the initiative that we've got right now, you do have to purchase the SaaS add-on if you wish to actually benefit from some of the functionality that we previously mentioned, but again, that will move you onto the hybrid model as well. If you're already happy with your QlikView deployment and you don't wish to move your current licensing model, you can stay on the model that you are and continue to pay your annual maintenance as well. I just wanted to let you know that this is an option that a lot of the customers I'm talking to right now are considering and may wish to consider as well in the future for them going forward. Another consideration that you do need to think about when thinking about AMP itself is whether you have end printing or not. So on the current incentive that Qlik have, if you have end printing already and you are happy to stay on the on-prem client managed deployment option, then this program will absolutely support you at no additional cost. If you do, however, have the you want to benefit from having the SaaS functionality, then we would recommend that you adopt the hybrid approach, and then there is a small premium to do that when buying the SaaS add-on as well. When actually using both Qlik Sense and QlikView, what this encourages you to do is adopt Qlik Sense at a pace that's useful to you. So you don't have to sort of shut off your QlikView servers immediately and move everything over to Qlik Sense. You can do it very slowly. We can help you develop the reports as well. But what you do need to understand is that there are infrastructure costs to maintain the server and provision the server for your Qlik Sense licenses as well. Again, if you do have any other questions, we're more than happy to discuss this with you on a one-to-one basis. Every customer has specific needs that they have with their QlikView, and we can talk you through that as well. But the purpose of today is just to give you a high-level introduction into how you can modernize your current QlikView licenses going forward. If you're already a Qlik Sense customer, another incentive for yourselves would be to actually move your perpetual Qlik Sense licenses over to the Qlik Sense subscription model. There are two different ways to do this, and the most common available option to you is to convert your current maintenance and perpetual licenses over to subscription SaaS. So this conversion is free of charge. We would help you migrate your entire environment to Qlik's cloud, and it's something that Qlik then manage for you. You're then able to benefit from all of the SaaS functionality, again, as we mentioned earlier. And in order to support you doing this, so you don't have any sort of downtime on your current Qlik Sense licenses, we will arrange a temporary license for you in the same way that we did when our customer Pizza Express decided to roll out Qlik Sense SaaS across their licenses and across their entire business as well. This conversion itself will convert your perpetual licenses, into a 3-year subscription as well. Again, locking in that price for you, so you don't have those annual maintenance increases in the same way that you have been over the last couple of years. You do also have the option to move over to subscription, but just the client-managed version as well. There is a premium to this. It is an option that Pizza Express did consider when we were talking to them about moving over to subscription, but they decided to buy around about 300 odd licenses, so now their total estate is over 400 licenses, which meant that the SaaS model was a lot more beneficial for them, and they opted to do that. But if you wish to stay on your own premise and say client managed, we will have to have a chat with you about how we can go to Qlik and make sure that we can move you over onto subscription. But this is done on a deal by deal basis, so it's well worth having a chat with us to see what your plans are for Qlik during the year, so we can negotiate favourable terms for you to move over as well. Your annual maintenance, which will then become a subscription, will change based on the increase of licenses that you purchase on a year-to-year basis. But other than that, there's no general increase because you're adopting the subscription model. Qlik have said, like I've just been alluding to, the fact that there is a minimum purchase, but we can again work with you to understand what your requirements are for Qlik and whether you're looking to grow out your estate to help move you over to the subscription model, but staying on premise as well. You can again stay on the perpetual model with the licenses that you do have and continue to pay your annual maintenance. But we do encourage having a chat with us and understanding what your plans are, how you can benefit from Qlik going forward, and keeping up to date with all of the investments that you've got based on the research and the functionality that they are introducing to you as well. So when talking about converting your perpetual licenses into subscription, the kinds of things you need to consider right now are what product you're currently using, whether it is Qlik Sense or QlikView, because there are two different roadmaps for that. So the previous slides that we were discussing on the AMP program are more for QlikView, and what we're talking about right now on converting your perpetual licenses to subscription, they're more suited towards Qlik Sense users as well. One thing to note here as well is if you are a Qlik Sense user and you purchased your licenses via the token model, If you do decide to move over to subscription, they will change your licenses into the professional and analyzer model. So if you are utilizing your logging access passes via your tokens, which gives you 10 1-hour slots every 28 days to use per your token, then what we need to do is understand that you will only get 10 professional licenses for that. So there may be some additional users who use the logging passes. They may not get access to Qlik Sense as well. But at this point, we would have a conversation with you on how to benefit from the subscription model, and potentially introducing the Qlik Analyzer capacity packs for those additional users who are light touch base users to use Qlik Sense and access that at the same time. So those are a few different considerations that you need to make when thinking about the move to subscription if you are a Qlik Sense customer. And again, if you have any specific questions about your Qlik Sense estate, again, just do get in touch with us, and we're more than happy to take you through that one-to-one exercise of what you're currently using your Qlik Sense licenses for, how to use them, and how the subscription model will help you as well going forward. And I'll pass this over back to Andy now, who will just talk to you about whether you're already a subscription customer and what options you have available to you as well.
Yeah, so it just builds on what Sharon's been going through there. But if you are already a subscription customer, most likely you will be on Qlik Sense. And if anything that we've said today about the SaaS offering is of interest to you, the data alerts, the data catalog that's coming, the printing that's coming, the Insight Advisor chat, then you might have some good news. If you purchased your subscription license, or you converted from Perpetual to subscription on one of those journeys prior to July 2020, then you will automatically qualify for a SaaS tenant, and you can start to use that hybrid model. So again, we've just done this for a couple of our customers. When they get into understand and know the functionality that can come along, and they find out that they had purchased those licenses before July, we have to go through a process and ask Qlik to send out an email, and it goes to the subscription owner, and you can set up that SaaS tenant, and we can help you out with the identity provider. But essentially, for no additional annual fee, you can get access to that SaaS tenant, and it might reduce the burden on your own infrastructure. It might just be that it gives you chance to use the extra functionality that comes with SaaS. But for those of you that didn't jump onto subscription prior to July 2020, there's still a way that you can benefit from those SaaS add-ons, those SaaS bits of functionality. There's something on the Qlik price list called the Qlik SaaS add-on, or the Qlik Cloud SaaS add-on, and you can increase your subscription fee, and it is a price per user. So if you've got 10 professionals and 5 analyzers and 3 analyzer capacity packs, there's a price per each of those licenses that you pay that increases your subscription fee on an annual basis, but you would get access for all of those users to use the SaaS tenant. Again, we can go into more detail if you want specifics on that, but really it's just about getting in touch with your account manager if you want to start to explore some of the functionality that comes with SaaS.
Okay. One of the last things we said we would cover off, I think you were doing this bit, Andy, was the technical information on SaaS. That
yeah, this is me trying to multitask, as Richard had just asked a question. I've got the answer to that question, Richard, but Neil will post it to you in a second. It's on our Techie internal channel. So yeah, apologies, but again, we said we'd keep it conversational. We want to answer your questions. We want to make sure that you get information out of this session, and we don't just want it to be a webinar where you play it back and it's a demo of the software. We want you to get something tangible from it. One of the considerations when people are moving to a cloud methodology is the governance and security and how it's going to work. So I just wanted to come off some of the technical elements. There used to be a 2.5 gig size limit for your Qlik Sense applications in memory to be used in Qlik's infrastructure. We've already seen that limit go to 5 gig. We fully expect with the scales of economy, when more and more people adopt the SaaS platform, Qlik's price per user on their infrastructure will start coming down, and we expect those limits to be increased even more. There are ways that those, it's not a technical limit, because you can get apps that are bigger than 5 gig in memory onto Qlik's infrastructure, but you pay a premium at this point in time to do that. Again, there used to be limits on total amount of storage, the concurrency of the reloads, and the number of reloads that you could do within a day. And in the last few months, that has all been released as well and gone to unlimited. So we're seeing the progress of more and more people adopting SaaS. It's starting to bring the price down for everybody else. It's starting to bring the limits up for everybody else as well. There are fair use policies in place, and we we educate our customers to not reload an application every minute if it takes 5 minutes to actually do that reload process as well. So there's those fair use limits in place. You don't just store a million QVDs on there that are all 1 gigabyte in size each either. So we want to be sensible with how we use that. We'll send these slides out, as Sharon has said, because there's some links on here that are worth looking at if you're considering SaaS. But Qlik SaaS is SOC 2 and SOC 3 compliant. They've got the right ISO standards in place for having data in the cloud. There's areas that you can go to in order to see the SLAs that are in place. So the Qlik Trust site will show you, the uptime and downtime of particular servers, and I think there's different deployment options there across the Americas, EMEA. I think it'd be in Ireland or wherever it is for Europe and UK. There's also, not on here, but a load of information that we'll send through on a link around the GDPR, so the use of personal identifiable information that sits within Qlik's cloud as well. It's one of those funny things where, because of the size and scale of what Qlik are doing, they've often got a more robust and trusted site than any individual company could set up themselves. But I understand that there are those worries. We've just done it with a customer of ours where they wanted to make sure that they had a data agreement in place that covered them properly. So we can have those separate conversations as well if you think that the functionality that sits within SaaS is worthwhile, but there's a bit of an issue around kind of NDAs or policies that are in place. So just speak to us about that, and we can bring that up with Qlik as well. So with that, I think I'm passing back to Neil for a bit of a wrap up, but yeah, it's over to you guys really. Any questions that you put in the chat, we can answer for you. Is that okay, Neil? I thought you were going to do some jokes. I thought you were going to do some jokes while people ask questions there.
No. Reputation goes before me, clearly. No, I mean, thank you very much, Andy and Sharon, for your input there. And I hope this has been a useful session to you all. Like we say, we will hand out the slides to you. If you've got other questions that we haven't yet answered, we will get back to you. I know there are one or two outstanding ones that we'll clear up for you as soon as we can. Also, as Andy just said, there are a number of useful links for you on here. I'd suggest you also make a visit to the statement of direction link. There's some useful information on there too. But other than that, if you want us to get in touch with you on a one-to-one basis, just let us know, and keep an eye out, please, for any future webinars that we've got coming up. There are 2 or 3 that will be slightly more product related coming up soon. So yeah, please keep an eye out for those, and we look forward to speaking to you all again soon.
Yeah, cheers, guys. I'm just finishing off a couple of answers to Richard on here, but like I say, Richard, if you want to drop Neil an email, we can summarize all of that information for you. But essentially asking on our internal technical channel, yes, third-party extensions are supported, but there are a few caveats about what you might need to do with whitelisting and things like that. So I can drop you more detail in an email, or Neil will drop you more detail in an email from what we've just received on our internal techie channel. I think there's something on the Vislib website as well about their third-party the extensions that they do and how you get it. But really appreciate your time on this, guys, and hopefully catch up with you all soon. Take care.